I think these frogs would have been much better with clothes. I think there's something disturbing about the fact that they are naked and not really frogs.
I think that Naveen's like thunder thighs as a frog, having those in clothes would just freak me out more. At least I know what I'm looking at.
It's all out there on the table.
Yeah, it's there. I know what I'm facing.
Okay. Yeah.
Welcome to Gabble Sisters. Join us on our walking tour of every Disney animated feature, taking in the history, psychology, and music of a randomly selected film each episode. Think Goose. Forward, march.
Hello, Megan.
Hello, Bronwyn.
How are you?
I am still warm.
Yeah.
The never-ending UK heatwave. To steal a phrase from Lottie, I'm sweating like a sinner in church.
Yes, I was going to say that. Like, that has been me.
Yes.
I've been sweating like a sinner in church.
It's just, why won't it end? So how have you been, Bronwyn?
Yeah, hot, busy. Summer's always really busy. I don't know if you have this, but like every weekend there's something, which is nice.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like weddings, graduations, meeting
people's life events.
I know. How dare they have life events? So yeah, busy. Have you done anything particularly Disney related since our last recording?
Well, so something the listeners do not know yet is that I am looking for work at the moment.
Yes, you are.
That my previous job quite sadly ended because I came to the end of a fixed-term contract and the next thing that was supposed to happen did not work out, sadly. So I'm looking for work and I'm keeping an open mind. And something I did do was look at whether Disney wanted any data scientists.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That would be crazy.
It would be so good. But alas, at the moment, they don't want any remote data scientists. That's the specific thing I'm after.
Well, keep looking.
I will.
Keep looking. That would be immense.
Yeah.
That would be so amazing.
Yeah, so I've signed up for job alerts with them.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that for you.
Yeah. So that's my Disney update. Please employ me, Disney. Or if anyone else wants a data scientist, then let me know.
In your house.
Or a podcaster. If you want to pay me to do this.
Yeah.
How about you, Bronwyn? What Disney-related thing have you done this month?
I've been thinking, and actually not much. Actually.
I mean, planning for the cruise
I was going to say,
a big thing.
I think the thing that we're doing right now is planning for our cruise next month. Our first ever cruise. We've never cruised.
No.
And yeah, we're excited for that. It's come round so quickly.
Yeah, it's less than a month away now.
It's less than a month away, so that's very exciting. But apart from that, no, I haven't had a very Disney month. I won't lie to you.
Alas.
Today we're talking about The Princess and the Frog.
Yes. So first of all, shall we talk about our history with the film, Bronwyn?
Yes.
So this is another one where it came out when
I was 15 when this film came out.
But we didn't see it together.
No.
So I don't know when you first saw it.
Okay.
Do you remember when you first saw this film?
I know the exact date.
Amazing!
I first saw this film on the 9th of November 2023. I know it because I have it logged on my Letterboxd account, because I only watched this for the first time as part of our big Disney rewatch.
Yeah.
Because this film came out in 2009, I was 15 and I was not in my Disney era. I was in my Disney is for kids. Like, everyone goes through this and then they come back. It's okay. So yeah, I've only seen it as an adult, and I've only seen it as a part of like my Disney study, effectively. So yeah, I don't have a long history of this film at all. I've seen it twice. I do not know this film very well at all. What about you?
So I think I had seen it before our big Disney watch through, but I am really struggling to pin that down. I don't know when or where that would have been. I do remember it coming out when we were in secondary school, which is interesting because I don't remember other films around this time coming out. And unfortunately, I remember this one for a bad reason.
Oh.
Because I remember the whole conversation around it, like at school or whatever, being, oh, why does Disney need to make a black princess?
Oof.
It's terrible, isn't it?
Oof, yeah. I do worry that if The Princess and the Frog, that story, had been about a white princess, if I would have gone and watched it. Now, I can't run the simulation. I don't know if there was unconscious bias playing into that. I just don't know. All I know is I didn't go out of my way to watch it.
It's possible. I would point to the fact that Tangled came out the next year. And I don't know about you, but I didn't see Tangled until a lot later.
I just wasn't in... If I think about the other films that came out around this time, so I think it was like Bolt...
Yes, I'd never heard of Bolt before we did our big watch through.
Bolt. I knew it existed. I didn't go and see it. What was on the other side of Princess and the Frog?
Well, Tangled and then Winnie the Pooh.
So I didn't see any of those.
No, exactly.
The one that I saw most contemporaneously was Tangled, and even then it was like, about 3 years after it came out, maybe 2.5. But yeah, I can't. I just want to acknowledge that, like, it has sat with me uncomfortably. Like there was a bit of, because I loved the Disney Renaissance films. This was always kind of presented as a return to the Disney Renaissance, and I didn't go and watch it. And there's a part of me that has to ask myself the question, like, what was the reason for that? But that's really interesting. So back in 2009, like, that was a conversation that teenagers were having.
This is what I remember. Yeah, and I hadn't thought about that until I was thinking about my memories of this film, and it is kind of truly troubling, especially because we went to quite a big state school that was also quite mixed in terms of race. Yeah. And for me to remember people having that conversation, like, oh, why have they made such a big thing of having a black princess?
Yeah.
Like, that's terrible.
It just goes to show, because I genuinely think if you were to talk to teenagers about this now, like in 2026, I think they'd get it. I think they'd understand why this was important.
Yeah. I was going to say as well about our history with the film that, of course, we've been to Disney World.
Yes.
And we have very much enjoyed the ride.
Yes.
Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Well, possibly me more than Bronwyn.
Yeah, I just don't like drops. Yeah, I love that Splash Mountain is now Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
Oh, so good.
Can I just say on the podcast, guys, if you're going on that ride, please stay in the log.
Did you see it happened a second time?
What?
Yes. Again, this may be fake
people?
news, but I saw a news story saying that there was like a copycat thing where someone else got out of the ride.
What part of that looked fun? Just stay
Insane.
in your log.
Yes.
Stay in your log.
Stay in your log, as in life.
Just stay in your log.
Stay in
That's
your log.
so stupid. I'm really pleased, obviously, that it replaced the Song of the South theme. For listeners who are not as big a Disney nerds as us, Splash Mountain was originally sort of themed around a very old Disney film that came out in the 40s called Song of the South. That film is, I've seen it, I've watched it, it is yikes. It is horrendously racist, not in terms of the language that it uses or anything like that, but it's set in the Reconstruction era, and it kind of presents all of the black people as just so happy because they're not slaves anymore and their lives are great, and obviously that is just not true. And I don't really want to go further into it just because it's horrible. It should be clear that the ride itself is not racist. The ride itself is based in, like, so one of the characters is a storyteller and he tells stories about Brer Rabbit. Is that right?
Rabbit?
Brer Rabbit, thank you. Brer Rabbit and his friends.
Yeah.
And
they're all
so,
like little critters.
Yes, critters, yeah. And the ride is about those critters. It's not about, like, the real life world in which Song of the South is taking place. So the ride itself was not overtly kind of racist at all, but obviously it was based on a film and at a time that's not. So it's really good that Tiana has her bio, she has a restaurant, and they're all having a great time, and like that's what she deserves. She deserves nothing less, does Tiana.
It's really cool. I thought I'd mention at this point, I always like to bring along a prop.
She does like a prop.
This time I have brought along,
I think I know what this is.
my beautiful purse we'll post a picture of this,
Yeah.
that I bought in Disney World that has got Tiana on it.
Yes,
And
it's beautiful.
It's really gorgeous. I think it must be based on that bit when she's singing Almost There, because
I love that bit.
It's very much the 1920s Art Deco style.
That is my favourite bit of the film.
Yeah.
It's the Art Deco in Almost There.
Yeah.
That bit is so good.
I'm with you. Yeah.
That's my favourite bit. The other thing I'll say, whilst we're on the subject of like the parks, is the steamboat in the film really reminded me of the steamboat in the Magic Kingdom and in Disneyland.
R.I.P. to the one in Disney World.
I know. I'm so sad that the steamboat is going.
Yeah.
To me, that is just quintessential Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're replacing it with what is going to be cars, I can't. I can't. But yes, I love the steamboat because it reminds me of the Magic Kingdom.
Well, I will be talking about steamboats later on.
Oh, okay.
Just alluding to them, and also other things that reminded me of the Magic Kingdom.
It feels like a very Magic Kingdom coded film, this film. Yes, like just the time as well, and think about things like Main Street and all of that. It felt very contemporaneous with that, didn't it? So, I mean, is it time to talk about the history of this film?
Yes, I was just going to say one, just a really interesting fact, I think, is that this is the 5th film we're discussing, and it's the 3rd princess film.
Wow. It's also the 3rd Musker and Clements film we've had.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Great Mouse Detective, Hercules, and now this.
Yeah.
So,
before we get on to the history, we need your haiku.
My haiku!
I thought I might see a sudden panic wash over your face, like, I have not written one.
I wrote a haiku.
Of course she did.
Half an hour ago. I wrote it. It's not very good because I just want to point something out. Tiana and restaurant are all 3 syllables.
Yes.
So it's quite hard.
I mean, Lottie sometimes shortens her name to Tia.
So that's too late now.
Too late. Too late. She can't edit it on the cuff.
No, I'm afraid not. I'm not that good a poet. Okay, here we go. So, Tiana's working so hard. Then she is a frog. She gets her food place.
Yes.
Not my best. It's not my best.
I'm just parsing it at the moment. I actually think if that were the story and that were it, it would be better. Controversial statement.
Oh, okay. That is quite controversial.
There are elements of this story I do not like, but we will come back to that.
Okay, we'll get into that.
So I like what you have...
Do you like how I made restaurant food place to get it down to 2 syllables?
Because
it's not a cafe. I was like, it could be cafe, but it's not a cafe.
No. It's a palace.
Palace. I'm sorry, guys. This was not my best.
No, it was good. It was good. Thank you.
Oh, man. Okay. So, Megan, tell us a bit about the history surrounding this film.
So, to give you just a little heads up about what I'm going to talk about, I thought we'd talk about the original Frog Prince fairy tale. So, we've been here before, another fairy tale. And then we'll talk about the modern day novel that this film is based on and the modern day production of this film. And then I thought I'd just talk a little bit about 1910s and 1920s New Orleans.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Because New Orleans is so important to this film. It's kind of a character of itself.
Yes, it is, yeah.
And there's a lot of very important context there, particularly when we're thinking about race.
Yes, yeah.
So, let's start with the fairy tale. So we are going back to the Brothers Grimm again.
Okay, we're back to Brothers Grimm.
Like we were with Snow White. So The Frog Prince was written around 1812. Now, do you know or remember the story of the Frog Prince?
So it's about a prince who's turned into a frog, and then he needs to be kissed by a girl to go become a human again.
Yeah, I mean, that's the story that we're presented with at the beginning of this film, aren't we?
Yeah.
When Tiana's mum is reading it from the book. So that is a version of the story. I went back and looked at the Brothers Grimm version and I recognised it. Again, I think our grandpa might have read it to us.
You have so much better memory for that than me. I don't remember any of that.
Well, I'm older.
That's true.
So I'll briefly tell you the Brothers Grimm version of the story. So you've got this little princess who's sitting by a well and she's playing with her golden ball. Do you remember the
As you
golden ball?
do. No.
No? Okay. No, that was sort of the element that I remembered.
Okay.
And one day she dropped it in the well. And a frog comes up and offers to fetch it for her if the princess will then take him as a playfellow and let him sit beside her at meals and share her bed.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's quite weird.
She agrees.
Okay. I feel like there should have been an adult, a responsible adult help, supporting this decision making, okay, fine.
So the frog fetches her ball, gives it back to her, and then the princess skips away. She's not going to honour her promise. So she goes back to the castle, and the frog comes to the castle, and the princess's dad, the king, the frog explains the situation to him, and the king makes the princess keep her promise. So she very reluctantly obeys, and the frog shares her dinner, and then he sleeps at her feet. And then the next night he comes back, and the same thing happens. And then on the third night he comes back, shares her meal, and then he sleeps under her pillow. And the princess cries herself to sleep. And I thought you would relate to that. If you had to sleep with a frog under your pillow, I feel like you would cry yourself to sleep.
I would cry. Well, wouldn't you squish it?
It does seem a weird fact, under her pillow. Like, not like on her pillow, under. Yep.
Okay, it's really creepy. Why does he want to sleep in a bed with a child?
Yeah.
Like, it's weird.
Well, at this point, you don't know how old the
Okay,
frog
fine. Okay.
So the next morning, he hops down and he turns into a young prince. He's also a child.
Okay, so at least it's age appropriate. It's still weird, but...
And he had been bewitched into a frog, and now the spell has been broken. And then it ends with this thing, this sentence, which I just thought was quite funny, that says, "For years they were the best of friends and happiest of playmates, and it is not hard to guess, I'm sure, that when they were grown up, they were married and lived happily ever after." Obviously, I'm sure you guessed that.
Obviously.
In hearing this very romantic story.
Very romantic. I, for one, fall in love with every frog that then turns into a man.
Yeah.
I'm not there, wouldn't be there thinking, I know what you look like as a frog.
Oh, man. Other versions of the story, I think that's a sort of quite sanitized version of the original Brothers Grimm, because other versions, and like we talked about with Snow White, the Brothers Grimm changed their versions of the story, and then people changed it in translation, etc. Another version of the story, which perhaps you would understand a bit more, has her throwing him against a wall.
Yes.
And then he turns back into a prince.
Yes. I feel like we haven't actually introduced the audience to the idea that I really don't like frogs.
This is going to be important to this conversation.
To be absolutely clear, actually, in real life, I don't mind frogs. Like if I see one, not that you often see them out, or if you see them at the zoo, like our local zoo has like a frog bit.
Oh,
I have no issues. Yeah. It's when they're animated. Or like they're either animated or they're like an illustrated version, particularly if they're wearing clothes. And this goes for toads as well. Frogs, toads that are animated, and particularly if they're wearing clothes, I find them really creepy. Really creepy. So if I'm imagining, when you read like a fairy story or something like that, I imagine it sort of like in an illustrated world. So it's an illustrated frog. So yeah, I can relate to like thwacking it against a wall. I want to be very clear in case I wish no ill will on any frog that's currently out in the world, but in the internal illustrated world, I want them nowhere near me.
But yeah, just to finish off the thing about the fairy tale, like with Snow White, you'll notice there's no kiss in that original story.
Oh, Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah.
But it wasn't Disney that introduced the
Yeah.
kiss. That was introduced relatively early on in the tellings of this story. It was once it had been translated into English.
Yeah.
There were versions that introduced the kiss. So, then we come on to the 2002 novel, The Frog Princess, which is what this film is based on.
Right.
So, The Frog Princess is a children's book by E.D. Baker, who is an American author, and it was obviously popular enough because it has 8 sequels. Lots of stories.
Nothing needs 8
about
sequels.
these frogs.
Wow. Okay, fine.
And there's so it's from the point of view of a princess who lives near a swamp. She comes across, I would say, he's a very annoying and talking frog. And he asks her for a kiss to turn him back into a prince after he's been cursed by a witch because he insulted her fashion sense. It's very 2002.
That's very 2002.
Like, ha ha ha, cheeky little prince frog. The princess agrees. So far, so similar. But then she turns into a frog instead when she kisses him. So that's the element that it's got in common with the princess and the frog. And it turns out that she was turned into a frog because she was wearing a spell reversal bracelet. So she eventually then has to kiss him again with the bracelet on to turn them both back human again.
Yeah.
And again, there's this like romance element and blah. Yeah, the main point is that this story introduces that flip of the girl changing into a frog as well.
Okay.
And at least there is a logic behind that, because I have a question about the Princess and the Frog plot, which is, why does Tiana turn into a frog?
Don't know, it doesn't explain that, does it?
No. I mean, we can probably just go, magic,
Yeah.
voodoo, or something.
Yeah.
But it doesn't address it, whereas at least this book has a logic to it. So that's The Frog Princess. So if we then come on to the making of this film. Production began in 2006, and it was a bit of a surprise return to 2D animation, given that Disney had previously announced that 2004's Home on the Range, one of our favourite films of all time.
It's not the worst Disney film. It's down there, but it's not the worst.
Well, they'd announced that that was going to be their last 2D animation. That was Michael Eisner's decision.
Yeah.
But
Obviously it was Michael Eisner.
But then everything got a little bit churned up when Disney acquired Pixar in 2006, and that they brought in John Lasseter as chief creative officer of both Pixar and Disney, and he was instrumental in reversing that decision about no more 2D animation. And many animators were rehired, having previously been fired. And Lasseter also brought back Ron Clements and John Musker, who we've talked about before with Basil the Great Mouse Detective, and he let them choose what animation style they wanted to make a film in. So they chose 2D, and they were most inspired by the style of Lady and the Tramp.
Yes, I read somewhere, and you can see that actually.
Particularly the opening shot of the house at the end of the road.
Yes.
Yeah.
James walked in just as I was starting this, and he kind of made a point of saying he really liked the animation on like the light, like the electric light. And when I very briefly read that they were inspired by Lady and the Tramp, and it made me think of that comment. He'd said they put a lot of thought into like the exterior, because you get a lot of that in the Lady and the Tramp. Like they really set the scene. Very different kind of America, but both distinctly America.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And apparently they were most inspired by Bambi for the bayou scenes, which I can see less.
I see that less, because I was going to talk to you about the bayou. I don't know if this is the right time, because obviously there's another film in the Disney canon that's sort of set in a similar environment.
Oh.
The Rescuers.
Oh, sure. Yeah, of course.
Now, you and I, when we get to talking about The Rescuers, we're going to have, not a disagreement, because I know you don't hate the film, but like I love The Rescuers. I love it. And one of the reasons you don't like it is because it looks, quote, grubby.
It does look grubby. It's so grubby. It's so smoky and...
So I'm assuming that this bayou is less grubby to you.
It's less grubby, but I also don't like it.
Do you not?
No. I love all of the city stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the colour palettes in particular are lovely and gorgeous animation. Then when we get to the bayou, I don't like the colour palette anymore. I think there's a swampy green, which I do not enjoy. It's a sort of ill green. And I don't want it.
Okay.
So that's how I feel about the bayou.
Megan just doesn't like bayous,
Apparently,
I think.
I'm very prejudiced against bayous.
Okay.
Right, yes. Where were we? Oh, yeah. So this is a weird fact. Both Disney and Pixar, before Disney acquired Pixar, had been working on projects based around the Frog Prince story.
Really?
It's really odd, isn't
That
it?
is odd. I can't see it in Pixar. Like, no disrespect to Pixar, but...
I mean, Pixar had a particularly interesting idea for it. So it was Disney that was already working on the Frog Princess story, so this book by E.D. Baker. They'd acquired the rights to it in 2003. But Pixar were working on a Frog Prince story set in gangster-era Chicago.
I can't see it.
No, I get you kind of see the
can't see
connective
it.
tissue between that and the film that we get, I suppose, because it's a similar era, but they've translated it to New Orleans instead of Chicago. But yeah,
Okay.
curious. So they'd both separately been having these ideas, and they kind of got merged. So Musker and Clements particularly wanted an American fairy tale because they felt that everything that had gone before from Disney had a kind of European
Germanic
bent.
sort of, So
they wanted an American fairy tale. And they stated that they chose New Orleans for its magical qualities and because it was John Lasseter's favourite city. So they were sucking up to the boss.
Okay, and they got to, I imagine they got to go on trips.
I was about to
New
say,
Orleans. Yes.
Well, they only went to Louisiana for 10 days before production started, which doesn't really seem that much, actually.
No, it doesn't seem that much.
No. So the project was originally announced as The Frog Princess, and early concepts drew criticism for various things.
Yeah, I've looked at some of this,
including the name of the film. It was suggested that might be a slur on French people.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of French history in New Orleans. We'll talk about that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, so lots of French-influenced culture. So I guess that's the leap that's being made there, that is particularly offensive to people from New Orleans, potentially. But there were other things as well. So the name of the heroine was originally Maddie, which people pointed out was rather similar to Mammy.
Yes.
Which is a derogatory term for a black woman who works domestically in a white household, particularly as a nanny.
Yeah.
So they changed the name to Tiana.
I also read as well that they felt that the name Maddie, just a black woman at that time, just wouldn't be called Maddie.
Ah, okay.
Either. So there were two. I read those two.
Yeah, oh, that's
criticisms.
interesting. Yeah, okay. Tiana is not a name that I have come across anywhere else.
No,
actually.
It's a lovely name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder where they drew that from.
Don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And originally, Tiana's occupation was as a chambermaid.
Yes.
I don't want to get into the complexities of this yet.
Yeah.
Interesting decision, because a chambermaid was potentially a more realistic depiction of the sort of role that she would have had.
Yeah.
But not very aspirational for a modern day audience for her to be a chambermaid, so they changed her to be a waitress. After they'd had all of that, they brought in Oprah Winfrey as a consultant for the film, which led to her taking on the part of Tiana's mother. Yeah. Now, I didn't realise until I was doing the reading for this that it was Oprah.
I didn't know it was Oprah either.
She's probably really obvious to some people, but... And then it did okay at the box office, but not as well as they were hoping. And I think part of that has been put down to the fact that Avatar came out the next week, which was like the biggest film ever at the time.
That was the biggest film that had ever come out at that point, wasn't it? And I think it's only been replaced by Avatar 2.
Yeah.
I mean, Yeah.
But Disney also speculated that it was to do with the name, The Princess and the Frog, that people latched onto the princess part and thought, oh, this is just a film for little girls.
Yeah.
So some people have said, oh, this is why they changed the name of Rapunzel to be Tangled and the Snow Queen to be Frozen. These things that are slightly more abstract and not clearly calling to a particular demographic.
Yes.
Which is interesting in itself. Okay, so then finally, let's talk a little bit about 1910s and 1920s New Orleans. So I thought I'd give you a very potted history of New Orleans.
Please
Short,
do. Please do.
but I think it's important context. So it was founded by the French in the early 18th century, and it became the capital of French Louisiana. Very shortly after that, enslaved Africans were brought to the city.
Yeah.
It ends up being ruled by Spain for about 40 years, so we've already got this big mix of French, Spanish and African. And that Spanish racial rules actually allowed for a recognised class of free people of colour.
Right.
Louisiana then was briefly returned to France at the turn of the 19th century, before it was then sold to the United States. So it's got this very complicated multinational background.
Melting pot of different nationalities, cultures, heritages.
Yeah, exactly. So in the 19th century, these tensions were growing between the French, Spanish, and Creole residents and the incoming Americans. So in the early 19th century, it became one of the wealthiest and largest cities in the US. It was a major port that was shipping cotton, sugar, and other goods. And steamboats, in particular, accelerated trade along the Mississippi River. So steamboats were important. Slavery was very central. Thousands of slaves were sold in New Orleans markets. And at the same time, there was a substantial free Black and Creole of colour community that was developing in New Orleans with its own institutions and property holding and cultural life. And then after the Civil War, emancipation briefly expanded Black political participation, but by the turn of the 20th century, white rule had been restored, and as the government was starting to codify a racial hierarchy.
Yeah.
So this is what gets us to the 1910s and 1920s. So the film takes place, the first bit of it is in 1912, we see that from a newspaper, and then when Tiana's an adult, it's 1926, which again we see on the front of a newspaper. And this was really not a good time to be a Black person in New Orleans. So, interesting decision from the outset. Just to outline that a little bit more, by 1900, New Orleans had shifted from this earlier, more fluid racial order with a significant free Creole of colour population to a much more rigid black and white binary that was enforced by Jim Crow laws.
Yes.
Louisiana had this Constitution of 1898, which effectively disenfranchised most Black voters through things like poll taxes and literacy tests. So even after you have the 19th Amendment in 1920, which allows women to vote, most Black women in New Orleans still couldn't effectively vote. You've also got a lot of segregation going on, so streetcar segregation was introduced in 1902. You've also got school segregation and housing covenants, and there's just all of these everyday customs of racial segregation which were structuring public life. For Black people, wages were low, the job security was minimal, and as domestic workers, so particularly Black women, were especially vulnerable to exploitation and abuse, and has had little legal recourse. The point of setting all that up is that this is the historical context that we see in the film, and as we see some of that.
Yeah.
I think they make some curious decisions about what they portray and what they don't portray. I think there's a pretty uncomfortable scene where Tiana and her mother are riding the streetcar, and as there was streetcar segregation, they wouldn't have been able to ride it with white people. And you see all these mansions going past, and then suddenly it changes to all of these shacks going past.
Yes.
And it's a very effective visual, but also really uncomfortable because it's pointing out that huge disparity in wealth.
Yes.
I want to talk later on about decisions they made in terms of presenting race, but just to point that out at this point. And another thing is that Charlotte and Naveen couldn't have married at this time because interracial marriages weren't legal. But something we do see in the film that was true is that there was a very strong black culture and identity. And I think we do see some of that. And that, I mean, surely part of the reason for that strong culture and identity was part of their resistance to this oppression. So there were very strong churches and societies and businesses that anchored these black communities. And the unique musical culture, which I'm sure we'll talk about later on with the music in this film. Yeah. So the jazz, the brass bands, and the French Creole dance music, which was a precursor to Zydeco, all of that emerged from these black communities in New Orleans. So very, very strong, distinctive identity.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to set up that sort of this very complicated and multicultural history we have in New Orleans, which is the background of this film, and I think they try and capture.
Yes.
Later on, I would like to go into more depth because I think this then meets with the depiction of women, because I would really like to talk about the intersectionality of Tiana's gender and her race. Yes. But hopefully I've just set up a bit of background for that. Yeah. And I think what we see, just to wrap up this whole history section, is that we see there are some quite disparate elements that are coming into this film. So the original Frog Prince story and then the Frog Princess novels, they are very much not black stories.
No, they're not. No.
And then they are meeting this idea of New Orleans and the first black Disney princess. And so, a bit like New Orleans itself, you've got this massive melting pot of ideas and cultures, and I think potentially it doesn't work as well in this film as it does in the very distinctive culture of New Orleans, which loads of people love. I'm not sure how well it comes across in this film.
Can I just add, just because a few things came up in my stuff looking at race that came up that I think, like you say, might help with the setting up of things. So I think another thing that I read a bit about is Louisiana voodoo.
Ah, yes,
because that is obviously quite important for the film, and the depiction of it has been critiqued
because it's a very real religion.
It's a very real religion, and it's an African diasporic religion, which basically means it was developed by people who have ancestry in Africa but outside Africa. So it existed in Louisiana and in the broader Mississippi River Valley between the 18th and early 20th centuries. So very much the film is showing the end period of Louisiana voodoo being a common religion in the area.
Just on that point, I think the film confuses voodoo and hoodoo, doesn't it?
I don't know that much, but yes.
Because I think it's just kind of convenient for them that they rhyme, but they're actually different things, and they're used interchangeably in this film. And they just have, the Shadow Man seems to have lots of elements of different religions, like he uses tarot cards as well.
He makes me feel quite uncomfortable. The only other thing I was going to say on this kind of, just on the tiny bit of history that I looked at was, did you read about Leah Chase?
Why does that name ring a bell?
So John Lasseter talked about how Tiana herself was inspired by restaurateur Leah Chase, also known as the Queen of Creole Cuisine. And she was a big advocate for African American art and Creole cooking. So her restaurant, Dookie Chase, was opened by her and her husband in the 60s it became a gathering place for people participating in the civil rights movement, and it was also known as a gallery of African American art because they had loads there. In 2018, it was named one of the 40 most important restaurants of the past 40 years by Food and Wine magazine.
Oh.
Sounds like something they would know, because I think one of the things that is important here is that because we have so much kind of like falsification of history, I think even though it's really important that we know that this restaurant did not exist at the time that this film is, this was not happening during Jim Crow.
Yeah.
What you said about being aspirational, that Tiana being somebody with sort of, you know, her meant to be representing sort of aspirational dreams, I think that that's really important. And I think it's good that they at least tried to make her somewhat realistic, even if not completely, because like I don't think that Leah would have been able to do what she did at the time that Tiana was doing. But yes, there's a little bit of truth.
Yeah. That's a good additions, thank you.
So I can talk a little bit about, like I say, I'll talk a bit about some of sort of the psychological aspects that I picked up, again, with Tiana. I'm going to talk a lot about Tiana. I will say that I did spend quite a lot of time, like I said earlier, thinking about sort of the racial components of this, because that felt more important in this film. And like I say, actually, if we go outside of Tiana, there's not a huge amount to discuss, really, I don't think, in terms of psychology. In terms of sort of something to really get your teeth into, I don't think. Outside of, like I say, that this, for me, watching this film, most of what I want to talk about is stuff that's all related to race. A lot of the stuff I have to say about music is related to culture and race. So I was inspired by myself.
Oh, wow.
I was inspired by myself and what we talked about last time when we went into thinking about the big 5 aspects of personality. And we were talking about them in quite general terms. And for me, I think that Tiana has, if we think about her from a big 5 perspective, one of the ones that seems key is conscientiousness.
Definitely.
So just to remind everybody, in case you haven't listened to our Frozen episode, and if you haven't, why haven't you? Pause this and go back. The big 5 are the most successfully repeated personality traits that are shown in humans across time and across place. And one of those big 5 is conscientiousness. That is looking at competence, striving for achievement, orderliness, self-control, and deliberation. And I think that Tiana really shows that. She's someone who kind of feels very keenly that like this is something that she really wants to do. She really wants to open a restaurant. She really wants to do that. And she works very hard. She has a plan as to how she's going to do it. She's very, self-controlled, like her friends are there having a good time and she's just working because she wants money to be able to buy or put the down payment on the restaurant.
She doesn't sleep.
She
works so many jobs. She just goes home, has to put on the uniform for the next one.
Yeah. And to me as well, she comes across, to me, as quite a perfectionist. She wants to do many things well. So when she can't get the specific restaurant that she wants, that's really difficult for her. And the idea of not getting that is quite big in her mind. So I wanted to look at what's the relationship between conscientiousness and perfection. Is there a relationship? So the first paper I looked at is by Stoeber et al. 2009, looking at this relationship.
Oh, so same year this film came out.
Yes, same year this film came out. They obviously saw Tiana and thought, yeah, we want to look into this. So Stoeber et al. Start by saying that there are numerous studies that show the relationship between conscientiousness, so that's the idea of being competent and striving, being orderly, and self-oriented perfectionism, i.e. wanting to do well for yourself. And they also show that there's a link between neuroticism, which is more of that personality trait that's to do with being highly strung, relationship with stress, that sort of thing, and socially prescribed perfectionism, i.e. I want to do well, so other people will like me, other people will respect me, I will fit in with other people. Does that make sense? The difference between those two things.
Two relationships of two things.
Yeah, so the relationship between conscientiousness and self-oriented perfectionism, which is I'm going to strive for myself, and neuroticism and socially prescribed perfectionism, which is I feel I have to do this for other people, basically. The question is whether that conscientiousness and neuroticism also predict longitudinal changes in self-oriented and socially prescribed perfectionism. Stay with me, because I'm going to make a really interesting point at the end of
I'm with you.
They took a sample of 214 adolescents aged 14 to 19. A lot of social psychology personality research is done with adolescents, which I think is a bit strange because...
Well, yeah, I was wondering that, because they're still, like, they're developing.
Well, yeah, so take that as a limitation. They're all from Eastern Germany, so again, you've got a very, very specific cultural set of people. And they completed some measures on Big Five personality traits and perfectionism twice over a period of either 5 or 8 months. And again, that's not very long, because they're looking at whether those Big Five personality traits can predict what your perfectionism will look like over time. What they found is conscientiousness predicted longitudinal increases in self-oriented perfectionism. So to put that in the case of this film, we would predict that because Tiana's very conscientious, that means that she's very self-oriented in her perfectionism, i.e. she wants to get her restaurant because she wants it for her, because she thinks that's the right thing to do. She wants to work hard because it's the right thing to do for her. And she achieves that in the end. It stays with her. Neuroticism, however, does not predict any longitudinal increases in perfectionism, either self-oriented or socially prescribed. So we're going to go back to what we were saying about Elsa.
Oh, yeah.
So Elsa, I think she's scoring quite high on neuroticism, right? Very anxious, easily stressed. At the end, if we think about where she ends up, she initially is, we can see that socially prescribed perfectionism, conceal, don't feel, don't let them know, just be the good girl we're always supposed to be.
Yeah,
right? She's doing that, but in the end, she lets it go.
Yeah.
I was going to say that anyway. I was going to say she lets it go. That was a complete pun that I did not intend. She lets it go, and she just then decides that actually, there are other ways of doing life, and love will save me. Whatever it is that Frozen says at the end, who knows? So she doesn't end up doing what everyone else wants. So I think that the two films, we put it together, they kind of show the impact of, so Tiana is conscientious, so her perfectionism is around wanting to do things well for herself, and then that helps her achieve those things. Whereas Elsa's neuroticism, meaning that she just wants to do things so that she doesn't upset other people, actually doesn't end up keeping on going with those things to be perfect. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
So these findings suggest that conscientiousness is a trait that plays a role in the development of self-oriented perfectionism. Now, the reason I wanted to look at perfectionism is I was quite worried about Tiana's general mental health. Not in the film. I think she's fine in the film, but I'm worried about she's a striver. And I just, in my role and my job, I see strivers become very stressed and depressed and experiencing burnout. So I wanted to see whether there's a link between both those types of perfectionism, self-oriented, doing it kind of for yourself, and socially prescribed, doing it for other people. See if there actually is a link between perfectionism and struggling with mental health. And I was really surprised to find that there's not. Liu et al., I apologise if I've said your name wrong, they wrote a paper and they did some surveys of adolescents during the COVID-19 pandemic, so a time that was very stressful for all of us and for young people, obviously. And they found that conscientiousness, so adolescents who scored higher on conscientiousness, that was negatively associated with anxiety, depression, and perceived stress. So basically, the more conscientious you were, the less likely you were to be anxious, depressed, or stressed.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Another paper that's a little bit older, Javares et al. In 2012, they wrote a paper for the journal Emotion. It's just called Emotion. And
That'd
they
make a good
found
Disney film title.
yeah.
Oh no, they went with Inside Out.
They went with Inside Out. So they looked at middle-aged adults. Now, I want to complain and say middle-age started at 35.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
That's quite
I'm
upsetting.
almost there. Almost there. Not quite.
And they found that the measure of conscientiousness and self-control as well, so self-control is very linked with conscientiousness, predicted greater recovery from, but not reactivity to, negative emotional stimuli. So basically the same thing again. So the same thing in adult brains rather than adolescent brains, we see the same thing. So all of this suggests that actually Tiana is less likely to have poor mental health than others, such as Elsa, for example, who is less conscientious and more neurotic, in my view. No offence, Elsa, sorry. So yeah, I found
That's
that
really
all
interesting. Can I chime in?
Yeah, please do. Please.
That I feel that runs contrary to, I think, what the film is trying to tell us, particularly through Mama Odie.
Yes.
Who sings a very confusing song.
Very confusing.
Called Dig It a Little Deeper, which, like, I had only ever thought about on a surface level before, and I thought it was about working harder.
Yes.
It's actually about the opposite.
Yes.
It's about kind of working out who you are and letting that decide what you do. So it's much more obvious with Naveen that she very explicitly says to him, you want more money, but you had money and that didn't make you happy, but love will make you happy. Whereas with Tiana, she's like, you're just a tough nut to crack. You work too hard.
Yes.
You need to work out who you are.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is that you want or what you need, but you need to work it out. And then, so it feels like the film is saying that Tiana works too hard.
Yes.
And that, like, she needs to
be
less conscientious.
And here's the thing, I agree with that, which is why I found that research so confusing. Like, at every stage, when I was like, okay, let's look at conscientiousness and perfectionism. And it basically was saying that this isn't a bad thing, because conscientious people are perfectionistic for themselves, and that doesn't have an impact on their mental health. And I was very confused by that because, my sense was that the film is trying to say that Tiana has pushed away the idea of wishing so much that you can't just wish for things. You can't just hope they happen, that you have to actually make it happen. And then you have to spend your whole life doing that. That the film is sort of saying, yeah, okay, just wishing is a problem, but also working too hard is a problem. I actually agree with that, I think. But what the research is saying is that perfectionism isn't necessarily a problem in and of itself. It's more related to where it's coming from. So if it's socially prescribed and is coming from a much more anxious place in the first place. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yes. Yes, that just made me think, that nuance made me think about this thing again that you see on social media a lot. Like we talked about how you see like big sister syndrome on social media a lot.
I haven't actually been contacted by any big sister to rage at me, so I'm really pleased about that. So I thought I might get hate mail.
But just like that, you see a lot on social media about people who were gifted at school.
Yes.
And now have all sorts of mental health problems.
Yes.
There seems to be a pattern that is observed a lot on social media. That will be like, oh, tell me you were a gifted pupil without telling me, sort of thing. And it's all people who are having mental breakdowns because they were like an A-star pupil and now life is hard.
Yeah. Whereas, it's so much more nuanced than that, because really, if you're a perfectionist, what I hadn't really thought about before looking at this research is it really does depend where that perfectionism comes from.
Yes.
Is it for yourself, or is it for others?
Yes.
Because if you could do it for yourself, because basically what that would mean is if you're doing it for yourself, assuming that you have a fairly good relationship with yourself, when you fail, it's okay.
Yeah.
Whereas when somebody who is, for example, trying to strive at school or at work, whatever it is, to, for example, to feel loved and respected by their parents, or to feel like their manager respects them, then when you fail, it's this big external, no one loves me, no one likes me. So it kind of depends where that's coming from. And so I think with Tiana, what's keeping her safe, it doesn't mean that she never gets sad, but I think what the research is saying is keeping her safe is that motivation was instilled in her by her father, but she's doing it for herself.
Yes, it's clearly a very genuine personal desire to have the restaurant.
Yes. So based on that, again, This is where things are a bit different compared to Frozen, because in Frozen I did feel that the message was confused and it didn't make sense from like a mental health perspective, in that, Elsa isn't actually free. This whole, when she's like, let it go, that I went on a big rant about it. She's not actually free. She's just using a safety behaviour. We're talking about someone who is presenting as someone who's not mentally well. That's what I'm thinking Elsa is. I don't think Tiana is. I think Tiana seems to be very robust.
Yeah.
She has a really good support network. She seems to have good self-esteem.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
in this case, I would say there's actually nothing wrong with her striving, which makes less sense to me, because I'm like, well, I'm worried about her down the road. But apparently the research tells me I don't have to. But yeah, it does make the actual message of the film a bit more confusing, because at the same time, I sort of agree a bit with, there is more to life than working. I'm a great believer in that. I think work can be a great place for you to get a sense of value and purpose and structure to your life, but at the same time you need to have more than just work. So I think all I've done is confuse myself. I still think Tiana's great, and I know that you love Tiana.
Yes, absolutely. Again, there's a lot I'm thinking about the depiction of women that ties into this.
Yes.
So, but no, it's good to have the psychological setup for that.
Yeah.
Because it's maybe challenging a few things that I had thought.
Yeah, same.
Bronwyn, would you like to get us started on the music? Because I think you've done quite a lot of research.
I've done some, yes. This film represented a return to a Broadway musical style format of music that was typically used in the Disney Renaissance. So the film that is probably we've done so far that they wanted to connect this to was like Hercules, for example.
Yep.
I'm not really sure I think it meets the Disney Renaissance standard in terms of music.
No, if we're just starting out with our personal feelings about the music, I would say I like it, but I don't love it.
Yeah.
I think, in particular, I think all the songs are really catchy.
Yeah.
Like, they all stay with me.
Yeah.
Particularly the thing that Nicholas and I have been singing for the last couple of days is just constantly gone down the bayou.
Gonna take you there.
Gone down the bayou. We just keep doing that. So they're really catchy, but nothing makes my top Disney songs.
All of them are, I would say, quite mid, except Gonna Take You There, because that's the most catchy. Yeah, I'll go through my thoughts on each individual one.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
I also, if we compare it to Frozen, which was also meant to be this great return to old school Disney, Frozen is leaps ahead in terms of the music. And I would also say what I said about Frozen in the music was that the music felt so important. Like this film wouldn't really work. I get that less with this film, except for the other side, the villain song.
Yeah.
And maybe actually dig a little deeper, actually. You need those two.
Yeah, you need that sort of explanation from Mama Odie about kind of the thesis of the film.
Down in New Orleans, When I'm Human, and Gonna Take You There, you don't actually need, I don't think, in terms of pushing the story forward. I always thought this was an Alan Menken film. It is not. So
it was supposed to be, wasn't it, originally?
So yeah, Menken was, at the time, scoring the Disney film Enchanted, and John Lasseter thought that the music might be too repetitive. Again, I'm not sure I agree. Enchanted is a very different film, trying to do a very different thing. I think that Alan Menken, the great Alan Menken, would be able to separate out those two ideas.
He's so versatile. He's such a chameleon.
Yeah.
I think we'll come on to this later. I don't think he would have been the right choice for this film either.
No.
But I think he probably would have done very well.
Yes. So Musker and Clement suggested Randy Newman, who is most well known for his work on Pixar films, Toy Story, A Bug's Life, that sort of thing. And it's really interesting you saying that this was happening. They were producing this film at a time when there was this sort of merging of the two that was happening in terms of Disney buying or taking Pixar much more under its
acquiring.
wing. Yeah. And so he was chosen because he is a jazz composer and he grew up in New Orleans, and you can hear that. He really understands the music. And yeah, he composed, arranged and conducted all of the music. I think this is awkward because the music that's presented, which is jazz, zydeco, blues and gospel,
these are all very much from Black culture. And so I think I think Disney could have gone to New Orleans, gone to Louisiana, and found a composer, a Black composer from there, and used them. I think on the other hand, though, just to defend Disney like a teeny tiny bit, I do think they should have done that. But we have to hold into account the fact that the vast majority of music that is written and enjoyed by white people has derived from Black music traditions. Pop, hip hop, R&B, country, all of it comes from Black traditions. So really everything is copy from that perspective of like listening to music. Still wasn't the right thing to do to get a white composer. So yeah, I didn't know what Zydeco was. I hadn't listened to any. So it's a music genre that was created in rural southwest Louisiana.
Yeah, it's very specific to this area.
French-speaking African Americans of Creole heritage. So for people like me who didn't know about Creole, it's an ethnic group that developed in former French colonies. Almost There and Down in New Orleans were both nominated in the Best Original Song category at the 82nd Academy Awards. They both lost to a song called The Weary Kind from Crazy Heart.
Oh, haven't even heard of the film.
Never heard of the film, never heard of the song. I'm learning through this process of doing this podcast. Yeah, the Oscar Awards for songs are quite random, and so it's probably very much based on what's in at the time, who had a better campaign, that sort of thing. Down in New Orleans was also nominated for the Grammy Award for Best Song Written for a Motion Picture, Television or Other Visual Media at the 53rd Grammy Awards. Again, it also lost, again, to The Weary Kind. So go and listen to The Weary Kind. Apparently it's a great song.
Yeah, fine.
And my reading this, the music was generally well received by critics. Matthew Wilkinson of Screen Rant stated The Princess and the Frog is among Disney's finest princess films and found its soundtrack to be outstanding. He considered the film's portrayal of New Orleans culture for its vibrant jazz music, varied songs and depiction of Mardi Gras to be particularly effective. Grace McGee of Comic Book Resources describes The Princess and the Frog as an underrated Disney film, emphasises that whilst its visuals can be unsettling, the music is a highlight. I don't know what is unsettling. Now, finally, we're going to get to Alex Pedidris of The Guardian, asserted that the soundtrack features a series of excellent pastiches of New Orleans music and found its greatest movements to be a tribute to voodoo, which is a bit complicated. So yeah, I just had some other general thoughts about the music. So the first song being Down in New Orleans, I thought it was really appropriate for the film and the time. And the woman who sings for Tiana, I think also does the voice, the voice completely. Anika Noni Rose, yeah, her vocals are amazing. Throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
Did you have any specific thoughts about Down in New Orleans?
No. I liked it. We get a reprise of it at the end, don't we? Which I think makes sense.
Yeah.
It just ties into New Orleans being a character in the film, doesn't it? Yeah.
The Other Side, Lorna, so my friend Lorna, shout out to Lorna, she really likes this one. She likes all the wordplay in this one. It's very fast.
Yes. Well, it is more kind of spoken than sung, isn't it? So that makes sense. It probably ties into your kind of Lin-Manuel Miranda style thing.
I was thinking this feels very Robin Williams doing the genie in Aladdin, that sort of speed that he could do.
Yeah,
but yes.
I think the voice actor was quite limited in his range, so they wrote him a song that he could sort of sing.
Yeah. When I'm Human, that reminded me of Human Again from Beauty and the Beast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, Human Again, which doesn't appear in the original version of Beauty and the Beast, does it? But it appears on the Broadway musical, and they cut it from the film, didn't they? So there is an animated sequence for Human Again.
So you can watch it.
Yeah.
I think it's like a special.
But it is basically, the same message. Yeah. Like, when we're human, this is what will
These
happen.
are all the things we're going to do, Gonna Take You There is my favourite song.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And because it reminded me also of Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
Yeah, I was going to say that. The music is used to really good effect on the ride, isn't it? It works really well.
Yeah. Dig a Little Deeper. I think it's It's a great song, and it's interesting to hear Disney saying money ain't got no soul.
Yeah.
It's like you're a literally multi-billion-dollar corporation, but okay, fine, whatever you say. I like the idea that Tiana needs to understand herself beyond what her father wanted her to do. We've just kind of spoken about that. I don't like this song for a very specific reason. It's on I have a Disney running playlist. So when I run and want to listen to Disney, this often comes up. And so it reminds me of being hot and sweaty.
Oh, that's
But
fair.
to be fair, I'm hot and sweaty right now.
So I think I put it on that playlist.
Oh, did you? Okay.
And I think it's part of my misunderstanding of this song because I hadn't properly absorbed it before.
Yeah.
And so dig a little deeper. That
Makes
feels
it-
like
yeah.
work hard
Yeah,
to me.
yeah.
That feels like the message.
Yeah.
But actually, as we've said, that's actually not the message.
What she's saying,
It's very
you need
confusing.
to dig deeper into yourself
Yes.
rather than work harder. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Then over the credits is a song called Never Knew I Needed by Neo. That felt like very Disney Renaissance to have a pop song to play over the credits.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yes. And that was the only one. So Neo wrote it, didn't he? So it's the only
Yes.
one that's not written by Randy
Yes.
Newman.
Yeah.
And then it's followed by some music over the credits that is by Randy Newman. And that particular music sounded very Toy Story to me.
Oh, I didn't listen to that. I didn't go that far. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But yeah, Almost There, I think is a great song. But the thing that makes it, for me, yeah, like I said before, is the animation that they do for that section. That whole section is incredible.
Art Deco.
So good.
In fact, I think for a lot of the songs, the visuals are standout.
Yeah.
So, like The Other Side, all of the really vibrant colours for the spirits and the masks, that's really good. And then for Dig a Little Deeper, particularly that bit where the sun is shining through all the bottles, it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
So a lot of the songs have really nice visual sequences.
Yes, they had really thought about that. And that feels very Renaissance to me, to make the songs pretty, basically, to make the animation pretty.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about the music. Do you have anything you wanted to add?
Only a very tiny thing, which is that there were a couple of bits that reminded me of music in the Magic Kingdom in Disney World.
Yeah.
So the music that accompanies Tiana and her mum when they're on the streetcar, that reminded me of music that's on Main Street USA.
Yeah.
And then the music that accompanies, this is kind of a niche little bit, the hunters, when they're on the boat, we've had all of the stupid shenanigans with the hunters, and we've got the final bit with them on the boat, and there's this music in the background that makes me think of Frontierland in the Magic Kingdom.
Nice. Yeah.
So that was nice.
Yeah. Shall we talk about the sort of intersectionality of this film? Does that come
So obviously we have our normal depiction of women segment, and I think with Tiana that very much leads into depiction of race.
Yes.
So we are traditionally starting with the Bechdel test.
Yes.
And this film passes the Bechdel test. I mean, Tiana has conversations with her mum, and she also has conversations with Lottie that are not about a man.
Yeah.
So the film passes the Bechdel test.
Great.
So it's clearing that very minimum bar.
Yeah.
The more I've thought about this film, the more I've had problems with it from a feminist perspective. Because I started off by thinking it was pretty good from a feminist perspective, but the more I've absorbed it and actually thought about the plot properly, the more I think it's quite problematic in various ways. So I think the good thing is that Tiana is ambitious.
Yes.
And that she dreams of having her own restaurant, and that dream is fulfilled in the end. So that's good. What I think is not great is that she's inherited that dream from her dad.
Yeah.
So actually, that was interesting in terms of what you were saying in the psychology section about where your motivation derives from. I think this is interesting because it is believable that it was her dad's dream and that it's her dream as well.
Yeah.
I do genuinely believe that she really wants to do it. For herself, she wants to have that restaurant. She's not just doing it because her dad expected her to or something. It feels real, but I don't know why they had to do that. From a storytelling perspective, the decisions that they've made there, why couldn't it just be her dream? Why does it have to be from her dad?
it's a bit of a confusing message, because I kind of feel like what I get from the film is what she, at the end, the thing that she's most excited about having is the restaurant. That's what's great.
Yes.
It's
I'm
not
glad
Naveen,
it
it's not
finishes
the
on that.
marriage.
Yeah.
You know, Taylor Swift, I have to go back to the holy texts. And Taylor Swift writes, "In your life, you'll do things greater than dating the boy on the football team," which is ironic now.
That is, yeah.
It's ironic now,
yeah.
but she's saying there's more to life than marriage. You will do and obviously achieve other things. And I think that this film kind of is saying that as well. Like, you know, yes, it's great. She gets married and that's great. But the thing that it's like, we're meant to be like, yay, she did it, is the marriage. Not the marriage, sorry, the restaurant. Sorry,
Yes.
the restaurant.
And that is what we finish on. That's the ending shot.
And I kind of,
restaurant.
and they want her to, but I suppose what's her name again? Mama Odie is saying is that, like, telling her to dig deeper, that like there's other things to life. It's kind of the other side of Taylor Swift. It's like, yeah, but there's also more to life than achieving. There's also about just being happy, experiencing life. That's my sense. And a part of that might be being in a relationship and spending time with, you know, people that we love. So yeah, based on that, yeah, I kind of agree with you. I hadn't really thought about it, but yeah, it doesn't need to come from her dad, does it?
No. And that's just the beginning of the problem.
Yeah, okay.
Because she then, much worse, prioritizes a man over her dream.
You think?
Yes, because, so you've got this climactic scene. Naveen, his plan is to kiss Charlotte, marry her, and give Tiana the money for her restaurant. Yeah. That's the plan. But Tiana stops him from doing that. And there's, she says, my dream wouldn't be complete without you in it.
Right.
So she would rather have only him than only her restaurant.
Yeah.
And that would be one thing if I actually believed in this romance, but I absolutely do not.
Yeah.
I don't think it's believable at all, the fact that these two characters fall in love, particularly her with him. I don't see any reason why she should fall in love with him and then prioritise him over her dream.
Megan looks really angry right now.
I got very worked up about this. Yes! Because I think this is clarified for me in a deleted scene where Tiana says to her, I mean, we get this idea from the film that we see, but it's just really explicit in this deleted scene. Tiana says to her mum, I don't need a prince to sweep me off my feet and take me away to fairy tale land. I'm making my own fairy tales.
Yeah.
So this is what she's like about. She doesn't need a man.
Well, it's that famous Cher quote where she says, but mum, I am a rich man. Because when her mum says, well, you need a rich man, but mum, I am a rich man.
Yeah, it is like that.
I don't need it. Yeah.
So I think we see this very motivated, very conscientious Tiana sacrificing her dream for this creep man.
I get what you're saying. I hadn't really thought about it like that. Yeah.
I think it makes a real difference that I really dislike the character of Naveen. I'm really not buying into this.
He's quite creepy. Like when he first meets her about wanting to kiss her, and then like when they turn in, they're both frogs, and he wants to like cuddle up in the tree when they're hiding from the gators. Like he's all like, "Oh, we can cuddle up." Like he's quite invasive.
Yes, and he's dismissive about women. So like in the Human Again song, he sings about having a brunette on his left, a redhead on his right, and like a series of blondes or something. And then that bit where he's about to propose to Tiana, he says something about, I've been with thousands of women. And he's so dismissive of women. Wow. There's nothing appealing about this character.
Yeah.
So I don't believe that Tiana would fall in love with him, and certainly don't believe that she would. I don't think she'd even put him in her dream, let alone decides to be in a relationship with him as a frog instead of be a human owning her restaurant.
Yeah, I get that. Going back, sorry, can we just talk about her dad for a second? His role.
Yeah.
So I read a really interesting article on a website called Feministing, and it's written by someone called Rose, doesn't have a surname. The Princess and the Frog, a feminist fairy tale. And she writes about seeing Tiana's dad at the beginning cooking gumbo, which the whole family evening meal, we see him doing that as Tiana and her mum are returning from her mum's seamstress job. And Rose was kind of saying how nice it is to see the shared labour of the husband and wife.
Yeah.
That like he's doing the cooking while she's out working, and that also that slight difference than we expect, like the man coming in from work and the woman cooking. So it's both shared labour and also that they are not necessarily they're not coming into the film in the typical roles that we might expect, and he's just as involved in terms of parenting as well. So I get that his position in the entire film is complicated, but he's presented in a way that sort of like seems that he wants to be like an equal partner. Or
yeah, I take that. I think they are both working jobs at different times, because we then get a flashback later on where you see him arriving home from work exhausted. So it's like he's done a night shift
exactly.
or something.
But it's more about the kind of like the shared labour of the family.
That's fair.
That's happening.
Yeah. No, they do seem a really nice family unit. Yes.
Yeah. So the other thing that Rose says in this article is, she writes, it's important to note that Tiana turns into a frog after she tried to trade in a kiss for money. Maybe I'm reaching, but Disney seemed to be making a point here about sexual morality that I found disconcerting. It seemed that they considered Tiana's work as a waitress more honourable or worthy of receiving her restaurant than offering the Prince Frog a kiss.
I see what she means. It is a stretch of interpretation, but it slightly comes back to my question about why does she turn into a frog?
Yeah. And it's the institution of marriage that then saves her from being a frog at the end, is kind of where Rose kind of ends up.
Oh.
So
Yeah,
sort
that's
of
interesting.
that the whole, like, this is how you do relationships properly, obviously within wedlock, basically. I thought that was a really interesting take.
I hadn't thought of that. That is really interesting. That yes, even as frogs, like, they have to get married.
Yeah.
To be in a relationship.
Yeah.
Even though they're frogs.
Even
like,
though they're
frogs
frogs
don't get married.
No.
But yeah, Mama Odie marries them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, good point, I think. Yeah.
And when it comes to Naveen, I agree with you overall. I do think it's, from my perspective, I think I do like the fact that the film at least attempts to make an idea of them teaching each other. So he teaches her to dance, kind of representing having fun.
Yeah.
And she teaches him to mince, so to work hard, basically. And, you know, the idea, again, coming back to the idea of what I take away from the film is that you need both in life. You both need to have drive, but you also need to have fun. You need to know yourself, and you know. And then they at the end they're building this business together. So, but I take your point that he's problematic on both in terms of him as a person and characterization and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, even at the end, I think he's still completely useless and pathetic. Like, so in terms of buying the restaurant, it is her money, her saved money that she takes to the horrible men. And it's the fact that Lewis is there, like, growling at them that means they accept it. So he hasn't contributed anything financially.
No, you make a very good point. You do make a very good point, yes. Now, another article I read, so this was written in Essence magazine. So this is a magazine that is, I think, generally is written by African-American women. When they wrote about The Princess and the Frog when it came out, they said, Princess and the Frog is the story of a beautiful girl who kisses a prince who's been turned into a frog, only to be turned into a frog herself. It presents themes about believing in love even in tough circumstances, the struggle of moving up from one's social standing, and the idea of beauty being skin deep. These are all great lessons to be taught by Disney's first Black princess. It's quite, it's a complex film, isn't it? With its play, I don't think it knew how many ideas it was playing with when it came in.
No, this is the thing. I think there's potentially too much here. Yeah, I have like maybe one main other point to say about the feminist side of things before we then go into race, which is about Tiana's mother and as what her mother wants for her. So the film already makes me a little bit uncomfortable. It's just as we're going into the Almost There song, her mother says to her, "That's all I want for you, sweetheart, to meet your Prince Charming and dance off into your happily ever after." And then a couple of sentences later she says, "I want some grandkids." And that, so her mother, so I'm not saying that her mother is not supportive of her dreams, because she comes along with the gumbo pot.
Yeah, she
so
does.
she's supportive of Tiana having a restaurant. But what she says to her is not so much about that. It's about, I want you to get married and have children.
Yeah.
And it's even worse in the deleted scene that I was talking about, because Tiana is saying to her, kind of, once I have my restaurant, you won't need to be a seamstress anymore. You won't have to work so hard. And as her mother says to her, there's one more dress I'd like to sew, your wedding gown, and 6 sets of little baby clothes.
6?
And I think that's just such...
Yeah. Such a simplified view of, like...
what women are for.
Yeah. To get married and have babies.
Yeah, and Tiana just laughs it off. So the film isn't like... I mean, this is realistic of some mothers.
Yeah, of course.
Fortunately, our mother has not been like this.
No.
But I think it's a sad thing to present modern-day little girls with, this idea still present in the film, like, oh, the most important thing is that you get married and have babies. Yeah. And I feel like the end message of the film, so she hasn't had babies by the end of the film, but it's still very important that she's met Prince Charming and got married, when she had her own aspirations and wasn't interested in love and babies.
The end, it gets the sense that the ending wouldn't have been complete if she hadn't met her man. If she had just got the restaurant,
that wouldn't have been good enough.
That wouldn't have been good enough.
No.
Yeah.
One more thing about gender specifically, and actually this is a point that really does lead into the race thing. Yeah. It's a point that's been made very often, is that Tiana spends very little time as a human in this film. I think on screen I've heard she's a human for 17 minutes. And the rest of the time she's a frog. And I think that's not great from a feminist or a race perspective. So I have this issue with the design of the frogs, that they are so gendered. That he is this bulky man frog, and she is this skimpy, tiny little skinny frog thing. And I think there's something unseemly about them. I really think they should have clothes on. I don't think we should be seeing these naked frogs.
What clothes would you put them in?
I don't know, but they need to cover their modesty. I'm shaming these naked frogs. It's particularly when they're standing up, like on their hind legs.
Oh, this frog shouldn't be standing like that.
It's flipping weird.
It is weird.
It makes me really uncomfortable, their designs. And it's a shame, because you see this in the deleted scenes, that they weren't originally like that. They were much more frog-like and much more similar to each other.
Right.
And I just much prefer that as a design. Yeah. The frogs they come out with,
you're
not
like,
right.
This is NSFW.
Yes. But more important than that, I think, is the fact that we have our first black Disney princess, and that yet we barely see her in her black body.
Yeah,
we see her as a frog.
Absolutely. So shall we go on and think about sort of the racial components of this? I want to start, and I don't know about you, but I kind of want to position myself in this, because I'm not a black person, and neither are you. I care about the way that race is presented, and I know both of us want to think about it really carefully, but it is possible that our thoughts on it aren't representative of what if there was someone black in this room with us would think. But for now it's just the two of us trying to do this as sensitively and respectfully as possible, but absolutely holding in mind that we're coming in with a white lens. Can I just add to that? I just want to signpost something that I listen to, which informs a lot of my thoughts now about race in this film, was that I listened to an excellent episode of a podcast called Black Men Can't Jump in Hollywood. Okay.
And it's a podcast that is made by people of colour, and they discuss particularly films where, like, the main characters are black. And their conversation about The Princess and the Frog was just so insightful and thoughtful and nuanced that I would really recommend that people listen to that.
I've said some of this, but I'm just going to go through my thoughts in the beginning, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we start with a theme on wishes, which is a classic Disney thing. It feels like Disney, in a way, going back to its basics. We have a star in the sky, and there's an idea of, do we wish on this thing or do we not? And I think it's Tiana's father who says to her, "You can't expect to be able to wish upon a star." I think it's her father who says that.
I've written down the quote if you would like
Yeah, please,
it, because it is interesting. It's slightly nuanced. He says, "You wish and you dream with all your little heart, but you remember, Tiana, that old star can only take you part of the way.
Yeah.
You got to help it along with some hard work of your own, and then, yeah, you can do anything you set your mind to. Just promise your daddy one thing, that you'll never ever lose sight of what's really important."
I can't help but think it's really interesting that idea of wish upon a star, but you also have to work hard, comes in when we have our first Black Disney princess.
Yes.
Absolutely. It feels like there's a recognition here of the white privilege of just being able to wish upon a star and things coming true.
Okay, that's more self-awareness than I had credited it with.
I don't know. Now, when I say recognition, I don't necessarily know if Disney was sitting around in boardrooms talking about white privilege, but where unconscious, if I just watch this film with my hat on of trying to understand how her race intersects with her becoming the first Black Disney princess, and it coming in with that kind of a slightly nuanced take, a slightly different take on the concept of wishes, that's kind of where I land, that it feels like up until this point, everyone who's been wishing on stars has been white. And everything, and it's just, it can come true. But it does present Tiana with this sort of very just world way of seeing the world. If you work hard, good things will happen to you. And that's not true. And I don't think that a Black woman at that time would have had that view. Anything you wanted to say on that?
Yes, yeah, it ties in very much with maybe one of my headline thoughts about this film, which is I really have to challenge myself on this, that I love Tiana as a character, and that remains true. But I think I really have to question myself on the fact that the thing that I find aspirational about her is how hard she works. And that is so bound up with her race, which is not a thing I had considered before.
Yeah.
I'm obviously coming from this white privilege where, like, I'm thinking, oh, isn't it amazing that she works so hard for what she wants? But she has to work hard.
Yeah.
It's not a choice that she has. Whereas from my privileged standpoint, it is a choice that I have. So I have to really question myself on finding that aspirational in her.
I think we can still sort of be proud of Tiana and still see it as... It's complicated, isn't it? I think it's holding that nuance, isn't it? Of like, this is an attribute which I think that we can be proud of how hard she works, whilst also thinking it's not fair that she has to work this hard, and that we as white people are very, very, very unlikely to find ourselves in that same situation. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's something that we have to hold quite carefully, isn't it?
Yes, and I think it's important for me not to hold full responsibility for that feeling towards Tiana, because I think that's what the film wants us to feel. That they present her as a really hard worker, and isn't that brilliant? And they don't actually address the underlying structural issues which mean that she has to work hard because she is a Black woman. The film doesn't deal with that.
It doesn't.
So it presents me with this brilliant, hard-working
I think
woman.
in terms of the self-awareness of the film, it goes back to something you were saying earlier about the shot that's showing the change in the houses. It feels like they're showing it. Maybe they were hoping to show and not tell, but like it feels like there's this real undercurrent of quite nasty stuff that we're not speaking about that's just not addressed. So it's like, this is what Louisiana was like. We're just showing you like the way it is, but we're not going to actually commentate on that at all.
No. There's this kind of one moment, I think, where it makes it almost obvious, but still not quite, that they're talking about race, which is when the two white men speak to her at the party, and as they're saying that she's been outbid for the restaurant, and they say to her, "A little woman of your background, you're better off where you're at." And so that's code for...
That's as close as they can get, though.
Yeah.
And I imagine, Disney is always playing it so safe in these areas. in so many different areas when we're talking about minoritized people. That's as close as they could get without probably thinking, oh, we're going to start alienating people and people aren't going to want to come and see our films because they're going to think we're lecturing them, which is problematic. That's as close as they could get.
And I think this is the problem, that they've ended up with this strange halfway house. Because you can see they are kind of trying, but they've got this compromise. You've got this kind of semi-realistic world, semi-fantastical fairy tale world, and you're left with this princess that you're not quite sure what she is. She's not fantastical and aspirational in the same way that most Disney princesses are. She is grounded in some realism, but they don't address the colour of her skin being important in that. And I guess, it just kind of sets up the question of which way should they have gone? And I don't know the answer to that. But I feel like they should have chosen one way or the other. Because you could have a much more, I'm just going to keep repeating this phrase because it's the one that comes to mind, a fantastical aspirational princess. And I'm thinking of a sort of colourblind thing in the way that Bridgerton is colourblind. That you've got all of these people of colour in Regency costumes and very wealthy. So that's one way of doing things. Or you could have properly addressed the fact that she is poor because she is black and she's going to have to come up against that in her entire life. They've tried to go somewhere in the middle. And it doesn't make sense.
Which sort of links to what I was going to say next, which is about her relationship with Charlotte and her father. Which is quite complicated because on a superficial level, Charlotte and her father are pleasant, polite, have a good relationship with Tiana and her mother. But they seem completely unaware of how hard Tiana has to work in order to achieve the same ends. You know, Charlotte is very cute in a lot of ways. Like she's a little spoilt brat, but quite cute about it.
Yeah, she's sweet.
She's likeable.
Yeah, she's funny.
And I think one of the things that makes her likeable is the fact that she, at least on some level, sees Tiana as a friend and respects her.
She does care about her. We do see that.
And, you know, she calls her a genius at one point and stuff. But I don't necessarily know if she sees her as an equal. Like, she just hands her, for example, a whole load of money at some point in this, like, that. I don't think the film had, I don't know what the film were trying to do with Charlotte and her father and their relationship with Tiana and, like, her mother.
Yeah, it's confusing. Again, I think it's that halfway house that they're trying to show, yes, there would have been this sort of hierarchical relationship between the white people and the black people in this film. Like, the white people are employing the black people.
Yeah.
But they still want them to be friends.
Yeah, just, you know, and Charlotte dressing up Tiana in her clothes but then Tiana has to go back to, like, being a waitress, you know. It's complicated. And there's there's no commentary on that. We don't get any of Tiana's feelings on that.
No. What I would like to know is, like, Lottie and her father are obviously wealthy enough to help Tiana buy her restaurant. And it could well be that Tiana wouldn't want to accept that, but this isn't discussed, and I feel like it's such a big question. Like, Tiana is scrimping and scraping and working every hour under the sun to save up for this restaurant. Like, why aren't her wealthy friends, in inverted commas, helping her? And it's like, you could deal with that, but they didn't.
They didn't deal with that, no. I've kind of just left this as a question. You might have more to say about, we've talked a little bit about the villain. We have as the villain a black voodoo witch doctor as the villain. Doesn't sound great.
No, it's particularly not great when you don't... If you had, like, a black prince that was giving the other side of things, like a good character, but the only black man that we are presented with... No, that's not true. Her father is in it. Her father is a good example of a black man, but he's only there for one scene.
Yeah, and then he's gone.
And mostly we get this villain character.
Yes, we do, yeah. I think as well, and I'm sure you've read about this, is at the time at which this film was in production, the setting was questioned.
Because of Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah, exactly. So just to remind our audience, in 2005, Hurricane Katrina really heavily damaged New Orleans. resulting in the expulsion of large numbers of mostly black residents. And some critics claim the choice as a setting for a Disney film with a black heroine was an affront to the victims of Katrina. And I kind of get that. This, to me, again, speaks to the idea that it feels like in this film, Disney didn't do a huge amount of collaboration with the people of which that they were trying to show. If they had gone to the people of New Orleans and said, we want to make a film that really celebrates New Orleans and the vibrant black culture that exists here, will you help us? We'll pay you to help us. Or if they were to pledge some of the, like, a proportion of the profits from this film to support victims of Katrina. But it feels like they made a film about these people to make money without thinking about involving them at any stage in the process. Because from my perspective, I don't think it's wrong for them to have made it in New Orleans, because we're better probably to make a film that's musical and vibrant and set historically.
It works in a lot of ways.
It makes perfect sense, but yeah, they did it in a way that really, it seems like quite alienated the people of New Orleans at the time at which they were making the film, which is problematic. Shall we just have some general thoughts that haven't fit anywhere else?
Yeah, I don't actually have anything like that.
Oh, okay.
So you go ahead. What hasn't fitted anywhere else?
We have a kitty cat.
Oh yes, actually I was going to mention that later on. We have a kitty cat.
I think this is the third cat we've seen.
So
Snowball. Sorry, you go ahead. You're the cat.
Oh no, well,
Disney
Snowball in Hercules.
Yeah.
What was the second one?
The one in Basil the Mouse, Great Mouse Detective.
Oh, Felicia.
Felicia. And this one doesn't have a name, I don't think, this cat.
So I looked up the name after the fact. I don't think you hear it in the film.
No.
But when I looked it up, apparently the cat is called Marcel.
Marcel, okay.
I feel sorry for Marcel.
Marcel's
has
been
a tough time.
It's been squeezed really hard by little Charlotte.
And ends up on the ceiling. And...
Yeah. But having a bad time.
Marcel.
Bad time for Marcel.
Marcel is cute.
I actually really liked the fact that this film, it's going to sound really weird, shows an actual death.
Yes, actually.
So Ray actually dies. It's not a Disney fake death where they come back at the end.
Yeah.
Ray...
It looks like it's going to be a fake death because he gets squished and then you're talking to him later on. But then he does die.
And, you know, he becomes a star next to Evangeline, and I think that's beautiful. I genuinely think that's beautiful. And so I like that because there's some realism to that. It's not so in the centre of the film that it's like utterly depressing, but it is sad because Ray has a whole song, but you know, Ray has been singing about Evangeline and everything, so he now gets to go to Evangeline, which I think is lovely. Well, I was going to say one last thing. For me, I think this film drags a bit. It feels long. It's the second act for me. The second act really drags, like down the bayou and just the shenanigans, as you call it. The shenanigans.
This film is mostly shenanigans.
Okay.
I tire of it.
So, Megan, what are your final thoughts on this film?
I think it can generally be summed up by I'm very conflicted about this film.
Yeah.
So I love Tiana.
Yeah.
But do need to challenge my own privilege on what I find aspirational about her. I think some of the animation is really beautiful, like we've said, for some of those particular musical sequences. It's gorgeous. But yes, a lot of the swamp stuff I don't like because I specifically don't like that swampy green.
This isn't going to be the last time this comes up on this podcast.
No, it's not. I have very definite thoughts about colours. I like the music. I wouldn't go any stronger than that, but I do think the composition lacks integrity. I think they should have got a black composer. We've spoken a little bit about him in terms of race, but some people really love Dr. Facilier as a villain. They're like, oh, it's one of the last great Disney villains. And I just think he's pretty weak as a villain. That he's just driven by money, basically, and he's basically controlled by the spirits. He's not very powerful.
We do get some evil Disney green, don't we, around him?
Yes.
Which is nice. A nice return to Disney evil green.
Yeah. I don't like the frogs. Don't like Ray. Don't like Lewis. I don't like the shenanigans. I really don't like Naveen. And I definitely don't buy into the romance, which I think really undermines the feminist message that they were trying to go for.
But Disney, Megan really wants a job with you.
Oh, yeah, I love shenanigans. I can't say it. I don't love shenanigans. I hate shenanigans. I am very glad that we have a black Disney princess in the canon of Disney princesses. And it was a bit late coming, but we got there. And I think their intentions were good. I think it will have been important to a lot of children. I just think if they made it now, they would have a much better idea of going about it, I think. They'd be much better at doing, like, co-production with black people, getting actual black artists involved at every stage.
Not just kind of appropriating and enjoying it for 90 minutes and then getting to go back to your white life, basically. Yeah, 100%.
So I've historically been rating this. Like, the last few times I've watched this, I've rated it as 3 stars.
Yeah.
But given my summary of my thoughts, I think that's too generous. I think I've got to go for maximum 2.5.
Okay.
Because essentially, I probably wouldn't choose to watch this. And not even, I'm not going to take any kind of moral high ground on this. Mostly I wouldn't choose to watch it because I find it boring.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear that.
So, yeah, I think it's probably at about 2.5 stars. Which probably means that I need to move it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I last saw you rate it at 3.
My list. So it has been just over halfway down.
Yeah.
It's been at 36.
Yeah.
I think I am going to have to move it down to about 40, I think.
Yeah.
So that's where I am.
Okay.
How about you, Bronwyn? Final thoughts on the film?
I don't think I will say it doesn't bring up as many feelings in me. So I'm giving it 3 stars. I love having a black Disney heroine. I think that's really important. It's far too late, as you say. I think it has some really lovely animation and some nice bits of music, nice songs. For my money, it does drag in the middle. I find myself switching off a little bit. I think so the plot could be tighter. I don't think it needs the screen time that it has. And also the film feels very complex to sit and watch, as a white person, and knowing the way that this film came into being could have been done with a bit more sensitivity or just done with a little bit more just genuine joy and bringing in people of colour, the people of New Orleans.
I think they've done better with that latterly,
yes,
haven't they? With things
they
like
have.
Moana,
yes,
for example.
They are definitely doing better now. Back in 2009, I probably wouldn't have said any of these things, not only because I was 15, but even if I'd been my age, I probably wouldn't have held this level of awareness. So it's easy to critique in hindsight. It's very easy.
Oh, yeah,
but
this is quite a long time ago now.
Yeah.
17 years.
So for me, it comes in at about number 38 out of 64.
Oh, okay. So we're
similar.
in a very similar
You
place,
moved it from
in
slightly
fact.
above to slightly below.
Yeah.
But I loved going back to traditional animation. That made me very happy, and I miss it.
Yeah, it is the penultimate time that we get it. Oh, really interestingly, actually, this doesn't fit in anywhere else, so I'll say it now. I have this book of Disney essays, and it was published in 2011. So you've had Princess and the Frog in 2009 and Winnie the Pooh in 2011. And they very much thought that what was going to happen going forward was that they would alternate between 2D and 3D animation.
That would be nice.
I know, wouldn't it be good? But
That'd be
in
brilliant.
fact, Winnie the Pooh was the final one.
Oh, there we go. Well, I think that is it for talking about The Princess and the Frog.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we've talked it all out. Like I say, if anyone out there has thoughts they'd like to share with us, from their perspective on the film, please get in touch. We'd love to know. Shall we do Megan's favourite bit, which is picking the next film?
Yes! Whose turn is it?
It's your turn.
Oh! The thrills.
I get to hold the hat.
You get to hold the
don't
hat. Oh, we've been quite modern just recently.
Yeah, let's go back a
I'd like
bit.
to go
Let's
back
go
in time.
backwards.
I'll try and take us back in time.
All right. Here we go.
She's going in. She's got one.
Here we go.
It's in her
Our
hand.
fate has been sealed.
the next film we are going to talk about is Robin Hood.
Yay! Oh my goodness, that is the history is gonna
Oh man!
off.
Oh my goodness!
You're gonna be busy. You are going to be busy.
I can go back to the Robin Hood era I had when I was about 8.
You did have a Robin Hood area, yeah.
Beautiful.
This is like, we love this one. I feel like we love this one so much more than anyone else does.
Oh, I think it's actually quietly a very popular one.
You think it's a sleeper?
I think
People
it
don't
is.
talk about it.
I think it is. And everyone obviously fancies Robin Hood.
Obviously.
Maybe you can talk about the psychology of that.
I don't want to talk about that. That's locked in a vault. I'm thinking more about the concept of like Robin Hood syndrome, the idea of stealing from the rich to give to the poor, I think is a really interesting. It's going to be thinking about morality and how people make decisions about what's moral and what isn't. That's where I'm going to go.
That sounds really good.
Yeah.
We've got Maid Marian. We've got Lady Cluck.
Oh, Lady Cluck. Well, this is an exciting one. We're going back in time. We're going into the Dark Ages.
Yes.
Yeah. An interesting time at the studio.
Yeah.
Wow, that we've got homework to do and a cruise to go on.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it might be a little while before you get a normal episode.
Yeah,
because
there will be a bonus episode.
Yeah, that is the plan.
Gaggle sisters
Gabble.
are cruising.
Gabble sisters.
Gabble.
Bronwyn knows the name of our podcast.
I don't actually. People ask me, what's the name of your podcast? And I have to go, hang on a second, let me think.
Is it a B or a G?
I say gaggle every time.
That's what our fans can be called, the Gabble Gaggle.
Yes, that's what they're called.
When they exist.
Okay, I think there's only one thing left to do.
Oh, yes.
Bye.
This is not an official Disney podcast, and the views expressed are our own. Thanks for joining us on another stop on our walking tour through the Disney landscape. We look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, you can follow us at Gabble Sisters on Instagram. Be sure to subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to your podcast, and please recommend us to all your Disney pals. Toodly pip!
I thought you loved Sir Hiss.
Why is it?
I think because you've got a purse with him on.
Yeah,
so I thought you liked him. Don't normally get purses with your enemies on.
To be clear, yes, he's on it, but not because of him. It's a Robin, because I really like Robin Hood, and I got a Robin Hood purse.
I only ever noticed Sir Hiss. Maybe that says more about me.
That says quite a lot about you, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.